Okay, so let us continue our discussion. In the last lecture, we have completed our section 9 subsection 1 of CGST Act and section 5 subsection 1 of IGST Act, which are the founding section of GST, you can say, up to some extent, because those sections tell me that there will be a tax on intrastate supply as well as on interstate supply, and I have shown you the different tax rates also through notifications. That was my section 9 subsection 1. Now if you remember 9 subsection 2 or 5 subsection 2, depending upon the act, that was only telling me that in case of 5 petroleum products, the GST date will be decided later on. That's it. So there is no notification as far as section 9 subsection 2 and section 5 subsection 2 is concerned. On 5 petroleum products, the GST rates will be decided later on. But now let me discuss you the next relevant subsection 9 subsection 3. So let me share my screen with you. So still the topic which is going on is levy and collection. Still the same topic is going on. We have 100% completed section 9.1 and 5.1. We have completed 9.2 and 5.2 because this subsection tells you that in case of 5 petroleum products, the GST date will be decided later on. So still these 5 petroleum products are not subject to GST in India, but these will be subject to GST after a discussion. Now my next discussion is 9.3, 9.4 and 5.3 and 5.4. You must know that this is my CGST Act going on and this is my IGST Act going on. I hope now you got to know this point. Now both of these subsections, whether 9.3 and 5.3 or 9.4 and 5.4, these talks about RCM, reverse charge mechanism. 9.1 and 5.1, these were talking about forward charge. Forward charge. What do I mean by forward charge? Where supplier is liable to pay the tax to the government of India. Of course, supplier has a right to collect that tax from the recipient, but as far as the relationship between the government and the person who has to deposit the tax with the government is concerned, recipient is not liable as per section 5.1. Supplier is liable. For the timing, you must understand this point that normally in all the cases, supplier is liable to pay tax to the government of India. But supplier can collect from the recipient, that is supplier's right. But government will not catch the recipient. Until unless I cover the reverse charge mechanism situation, government is not going to ask from the recipient. Government says, as a supplier, you are responsible to pay us the tax. So supplier will pay. So when supplier pays, and in most of the cases supplier pays, that is known as forward charge, where supplier pays. When rather than supplier to the government, recipient has an obligation to pay, that is known as reverse charge. So these two subsections deal with reverse charge cases, 9.3, 9.4, 5.3, 5.4, depending upon whether the supply is intrastate and interstate. Now, if you further remember, in 9.3, technically, in 9.3, or you can say in 5.3, I told you earlier also, when I don't write the act, by default it is CGST Act in front of section. If I don't write the act, it is CGST Act. When it is not CGST Act, and if I am writing a section, I will write the act's name also. That is why I am writing 5.3 IGST. In this, categories of supply of goods and services are given. Government has told the names that in these supplies, the tax will be paid on reverse charge. And if you remember 9.4 and 5.4, government has, I told you earlier also, government has not only told me the categories of supply of goods or services, as well as what? Plus, government has told that who should be the supplier. Government has told the category of suppliers also. Government has told recipients also. So basically, in 5.4 we have additional conditions to be checked carefully. In 9.4 and 5.4 we have additional conditions to be checked. In 9.3 and 5.3 there are not much additional conditions. There are some conditions but not much. But anyhow, we have to cover these two sections of reverse charge. So now the next question arises within levy and collection. The topic now is reverse charge. Reverse charge. So reverse charge means supplier pays. If Mr. X is the supplier, and for example, my Naveen is the consumer, so I am the recipient. In forward charge, whenever I purchase the goods, supplier will pay the tax in forward charge. Supplier's obligation is this to pay the tax, but in reverse charge, this recipient has to pay. In reverse charge, recipient has to pay. So in reverse charge, the recipient pays. Now, before discussing this further, you must know that when you read any act, you cannot frame your own definition. You must first read that respective section or subsection, whether this section defines this word or not. If not, then I will go to section 2 of the entire act, which is giving us definitions. If not, if section 2 also doesn't define, then I will read the entire act and maybe something is defined in other sections of the same act. If not, then I will search other acts which are applicable. If not, then only I have right to frame the general definition. Otherwise, I cannot frame general definition. It's a legal subject. So what is the sequence? How do you check the things? How do you check definitions? As a layman, you cannot talk. In courts, you cannot talk just like a layman, that since I believe that it is what. So courts will say that no, you show us the act. So that is why whatever happens in media or maybe outside the court is not at all acceptable in courts. They have their separate rules and regulations. They check on the basis of facts and not on the basis of just emotions. So first of all, you check that respective section. If that is not defined in respective section, check the section 2, which is definitions of most of the act. Of most of the acts, in section 2 you will find definition, but there are some acts also where section 2 doesn't talk about definition. That is section 3, 4 or 5, different section number, but in most of the act, section 2 tells you the definition. If still that word is not defined, then the third sequence is other sections of the same act. Other sections. So all these 3 points are related to same act which I am reading, which we are reading. If something is not defined, then you take the help of other acts. And then you can frame your other acts or other sources. Then only you have the freedom to go to other sources. Okay, this chain you should follow at any level. So now if I'm saying that reverse charge, I have told you that the meaning of this is that recipient has to pay, but technically what is the definition? Because I'm reading the act, I'm not teaching you a subject which is not a legal subject. So my first job is what? I will check that respective section. And if you remember, I showed you earlier also section 9 and section 5, the definition of reverse charge is not given. So my first point is clear that reverse charge is not defined in section 9 of the CGST Act or section 5 of the IGST Act. Then I will go to section 2 and there I will find the definition of reverse charge. So let me share with you now section 2. So let me open the act now. So let me open the act now and let me share with you section 2. I hope the act is visible to you now. If it is not visible, then only tell me. Otherwise, I am assuming that it is visible. Now, this is my CGST Act, and here it is section 2, definitions. And what it says, in this act, unless the context otherwise requires, that means if something is not defined in that respective section, then you read me. This is what section 2 says. First, you read the respective section, then you come to me. Now, these are clauses. So these are different clauses. So let me check. So these are alphabetically wise, alphabetical, in alphabetical order, just like the dictionary. So starting from A and then goes on. So I have to check the definition of reverse charge. So I have to go to R. So I will tell you so many relevant definitions now. This is reverse charge defined in section 2 clause 98. As you can see now, this is reverse charge. Reverse charge means the liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services or both instead of the supplier of such goods or services or both under subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 9 or under subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 5 of the Integrated Goods and Services Tax Act. So in entire GST, reverse charge cases are given in section 9394 and 5354. That is why Act also defines reverse charge in this way, that reverse charge means recipient will be liable to pay tax to the government of India and not the supplier, as per the provisions mentioned under these sections. I hope the point is clear. So I have covered with you a definition of reverse charge and I told you the procedure also. Don't frame your general definition when you read any legal subject. Read that respective section carefully. If you do not find anything in that respective section, go to that section number which gives the definition of the entire act. In most of the acts in India, it is given in section 2, but it is not compulsory that always it is in section 2. In some cases, you will find the definitions given in section 3 or section 4, but you will find the definition in the initial sections. This is sure. So reverse charge is clear. Now, since I have shown you section 2, let me tell you those definitions which you have to do. So you have to note down those cases. So let me tell you those definitions which you will read from section 2. So somewhere you please note it down and let me also note it down in my copy so that I can note down then in the pen tablet also. So what you have to read in future. So let me tell you those definitions. Aggregate turnover, that you will be required. So please note down those subsections which you will require. You will be required the definition of section 2 clause 6 aggregate turnover. And you don't need to, you are not required to learn all the definitions. For the timing, I'm telling you only most relevant ones. These are most relevant ones which we cannot ignore. Business, what is business? Section 2 clause 17 is required. These definitions you have to do in any case. Other than this, these definitions also, so many other definitions are also required, but these are those which will be used in all the chapters. exempt supplies, section 247. These all are used in all the chapters, all the topics. We cannot afford to miss these definitions. And let me show you one more definition, 2 clause 52, goods. Now you can see the definition of goods. Goods means every kind of movable property, movable. So immovable properties, when you supply the immovable property, when you sell a house property, when you sell any immovable property, land or building, then that is not subject to GST. That is subject to stamp duties, which are under the purview of state government. So that is why good says everything which is movable and not immovable property. So this point also you should remember. That's it. Remaining we will do later on. So I have shown you the definition of reverse charge case and some more definitions that those are given in section 2 also. So this is my first concept, reverse charge, and let me discuss with you now section 9 subsection section 3 in detail. Now to discuss section 9 subsection 3, which says that government will notify some goods and government will notify some services. When those are supplied, the tax will be paid on reverse charge basis. So I need to show you the notification. So let me show you the notification also. Deals with section 9.3 and 9.4, 5.3 and 5.4. Central tax rate, still central tax rate is going on. This was notification number 4 in 2017. This is notification number 4 2017. I'm not going to show you now integrated tax notifications because I have told you initially also the same notifications which are issued for one tax intrastate supply, you will find the same notification for interstate supply. So let me show you only one notification. After some time I will stop showing you the notifications, but for the time being, since these are initial classes, I want to make sure that how we check these or how we read these things. Now this is notification number 4, 17 central tax rate, New Delhi, 28 June, and see what is written. In exercise of the powers conferred by subsection 3 of section 9 of the CGST Act, the central government on the recommendation of the council hereby specifies the supply of goods, the description of which is specified in column number 3, etc., etc., in respect of which the central tax shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of intrastate supply. That's it. So this is that table which is relevant for us. So I have shown you the notification. And now I can simplify this. Now these are those goods where who is the supplier and who should be the recipient, who have to pay the, who are covered under reverse charge cases. So all the cases are not relevant. I will tell you those which are relevant, like tobacco leaves. You have to learn this, that tobacco leaves, जिससे tobacco बनता है. If the supplier is agriculturist And if any registered person is receiving those leaves, then registered person has an obligation to pay tax to the government of India. बीडी रैपर्स लीव्स, बीड़ी आती है जिसमें स्मोकिंग बीड़ी सिगरेट्स है, ओनली बीड़ी, so that tobacco is packed in that paper, so those are बीड़ी wrapper leaves, tedu leaves. If those leaves are supplied by agriculturist to any registered person, then registered person has an obligation to pay tax to the government of India. सिल्क यार्न, सिल्क के कपड़े बनते हैं जिससे सिल्क यार्न. Any person who manufactures silk yarn from raw silk or silkworm cocoons for supply of silk yarn, any person, but who is the purchaser of silk yarn, any registered person, then this registered person has an obligation, not the supplier, to pay tax to the government of India. And that's it. So you're not supposed to learn all the things. You only learn those which I have told you. Any 3 or 4 names are sufficient. So I will now prepare a small table so that you can learn those. So that is only 9.3. So we have very less category of 9.3 goods. Maximum 8 and 9 types of goods are available because this is the original notification. It has been amended later on and some more goods have been added. But till today we have 8 and 9 headings, that's it. So we have very less cases on which reverse charge concept is applied whenever the goods are supplied under section 9.3. So now I'm not going to show you the notification of IGST, that is same for interstate supply. Now, as far as services notification is concerned, let me show you that service notification. And the service notification is having number 13. See this 13th notification. We have around 20 services which are covered under reverse charge under section 9.3. After showing this notification, then I will tell you which you have to note it down. You're not supposed to note down every service. I will tell you those which you have to note it down. In fact, I will also start writing those. Notification number 1317, central tax rate, and you can read it. In exercise of the powers conferred by subsection 3 of section 9 of the Central Goods and Services Tax Act, the central government on the recommendation of the council hereby notifies that on categories of supply of services mentioned in column number 2 of the table below, supplied by a person as specified in column number 3 of the table, the whole of the central tax leviable under section 9 of the said Central Goods and Services Tax Act shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of the service as specified in column number 4 of the table. Now this notification deals with 9.3 services which are covered under 9.3. Now this is long list. There are around 20 such services. Only 9 are written here because I am showing you the original notification. But when you read all the notifications which have been issued till today, there are around 20 such services because these have been amended so many times. So these are different cases. You can have an idea that these are different services. This is how we should learn. In real life, the practitioners have to check the original notification and then they have to take a decision whether the service is covered under reverse charge or forward charge. So I hope this is clear. Please raise your hand if you got an idea that what I have taught you till today. I have shown you 2 notifications which are covered under 9.3 and the same notifications if you check for IGST you will find and those will be covered under 5.3. So you got an idea. Now I will start writing on my notepad and you are also supposed to note it down in case you want to note it down. But please raise your hand if you got my point that what I am going to tell you now or what I am going to write now. Okay, so most of the students are clear in this concept. So let me share my screen and let me simplify those cases which you have to note down also. Or let me share with you another Word file which I have written for my book. Let me share that. It will be easy. We can save our time. I will only tell you what you should note it down and you should note it down only that. Is this word file clearly visible? Please raise your hand or please tell me, is the word file clearly visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you please, now I will tell you what you should note it down. It's better if you note it down because you are not supposed to learn each and everything. So let me show you the highlighted text. Only this you should do. So you have to learn the names. If theory question comes in reverse charge, then you have to write the definition of reverse charge. You have to write section 9.3 and section 9.4, as well as you have to write section 5.3 as well as 5.4. The difference is obviously now 100% clear between CGST and IGST, inter, that is the only difference. Now this is the case where goods are covered under reverse charge. So which supply you should remember? So I am highlighting those supplies. You are not supposed to learn each and every supply. Better you learn only these. BD wrapper leaf. Okay, only these highlighted you should learn. There is no need to waste the time in learning all the supplies. Please learn only these relevant ones. Those are in green background. BD wrapper leaf. This is the name of the supply. Who should be the supplier? Agriculturist. Now, who are the agriculturists? Again, you cannot frame general definition. Check section 2. Agriculturist is defined in section 2 of the CGST. So check definition of agriculturist in section 2. And who is the recipient? Any registered person. Then tobacco leaves. This you should learn. The tobacco leaves supply is also covered under reverse charge, provided the supplier is agriculturist and recipient is registered person. Raw cotton. Cotton is also covered under reverse charge. Silk yarn. That's it. Only you have to do these four. So you please tell me whether you want to note it down or shall I proceed. But these four you should learn by name. These four examples you should learn by name where the goods supply of goods is covered under reverse charge basis. So shall I proceed or you want me to wait? Shall I proceed or you want me to wait? Anyone can reply, there
Please
is no issue.
wait for, please
Okay,
wait for
so
2 minutes.
okay, please wait. You have to learn only these four. Don't waste your time in reading all the things because there will be hundreds of those names which we cannot learn. So only learn these four and please note it down. These are those supplies which are covered under 9.3. If these things are supplied, then recipient has to pay the tax and not the supplier. The moment it is over, please inform so that I can proceed. BD wrapper leaf, tobacco leaves, raw cotton, silk yarn. The name of the supplier, who must be the supplier and who must be the recipient.
Done, sir.
Okay, so please raise your hand If it is clear, shall I proceed? Please raise your hand. Shall I proceed? Okay. Now you tell me one thing. My query. So I want to have a query. If I say 9.3 by default, I am saying 5.3 also. If tobacco is supplied, so what was my point? Tobacco, and who should be the supplier? Who should be the supplier? Do you remember what you have noted down? Who should be the supplier?
Agriculturist.
Agriculturist.
Yes, agriculturist. And now who was the recipient? Registered person.
Any registered person.
Yeah, any registered person. So X Limited was, for example, registered, and the agriculturist was Mr. Y, for example, Mr. Y. Mr. Y supplied the tobacco 1 lakh rupees. Now who has to pay the tax? You tell me, who has to pay the tax? Who will pay tax? This is my question. Who will pay tax? Mr. Y or X Limited to the government? Who will pay tax? To the government. Who will pay tax to the government?
X Limited.
X
Yes.
Limited.
X Limited. Why? Because of reverse charge mechanism. Is it clear? Yes, it is clear. But if I make a change, now what change I am making? For example, the change is that this X Limited is not registered. For example, the change is X Limited is not registered. For example, the change is X Limited is not registered. Now, can you tell me what will happen? In this example, if I say that tobacco is supplied by Mr. Y, who is an agriculturist, to X Limited, which is not registered, then what will happen? The value of 1 lakh rupees. Can you tell me what will happen? Can you tell me what will happen then? As far as GST is concerned, what will happen?
We need not to pay any tax. We need not to pay any GST.
Okay. Any other? So one answer is that we need not pay any GST. So any other answer? Any other opinion by any other person? Can you tell me what will happen now? So what you are saying that we need not pay GST is wrong. Why I should not pay GST? If it is not covered under reverse charge, it doesn't mean that the GST is exempt. That means by default, it is covered under forward charge. Section 9(1) and 5(1) is applicable for all the cases of intrastate supply or interstate supply. So if something is not covered under reverse charge, it doesn't mean that it is tax-free. It is still taxable. It can be taxable, but by default, in that case, it will be covered under forward charge. So what will happen? This is what the point is. This is what I wanted to tell you. So the point is what? So do remember, if it is not covered under RCM, it doesn't mean, don't say that it is tax free. Then by default, it is covered under forward charge. And in that case, in that case, then if X Limited is not registered, don't say that it is tax free. No. My first answer should be then by default, it is covered under forward charge. By default, any supply. Rather than it, I should use the word any supply. Any supply. under forward charge. And if it is covered under forward charge, and therefore, who will pay the tax? Mr. Y is liable to pay the tax. Don't say it is exempt. Please raise your hand if this point is clear. If any problem, you can ask. Otherwise, please raise your hand. Yes, this is what I wanted to tell you, that just because so many times this confusion arises that when something is not covered under reverse charge, it is exempt. No, why? By default, it is covered under section 9(1) then, because 9(1) and 5(1) covers everything. If something is not covered under above subsections by default, or if something is not covered in other subsections by default, 9(1) and 5(1) comes into picture, and by default every supply is what? Forward supply, where supplier has to pay the tax. Now whether supplier will pay the tax or not, then we have to check other provisions, that whether this is tax free, etc., etc. But initially, if something is not covered under reverse charge, don't say that it is tax free. Then forward charge by default comes into picture. So that means what I have told you now. I have told you 9(3) supplies of goods. So let me show you now 9(3) supply of services which you have to learn. So let me again share with you the Word file, and let me tell you by names which supplies you should learn. Now there are 20 such supplies, but let me tell you only relevant ones which you should learn. Learn. Advocates. Services supplied by an individual advocate or firm of advocates. So many people are, so many renowned advocates are working without any firm. They have their own reputation, and so many professionals advocates are working under the firm. Some people come together and have partnership firm. Just like in our commerce, we have big fours, PwC, etc., where chartered accountants are the partners. Similarly, in case of legal also, we have renowned firms which are legal advisors. Services supplied by an individual advocate or firm of advocates by way of legal services, directly or indirectly. Who should be the supplier? This column, third column, is supplier. So if service is supplied by an individual advocate or firm, by default, who is the supplier? Individual advocate or firm. But who should be the recipient? Any business entity located in the taxable territory. When I say taxable territory, I mean to say India. India is the taxable territory. Any business entity located in the taxable territory. This you should learn, that this is that service where the advocate will not pay the GST. Recipient has to pay GST to the government of India. This is my first such service. Then what you should do? Services supplied by an insurance agent, that also you should learn. So many insurance advisors are there, so many agents are there, which are engaged in providing life insurance. Whether life insurance or general insurance doesn't matter, but there are so many mediators between insurance company and the clients. So agent provides the services. So who is the provider? Agent. Agent is not supposed to pay the tax to the government of India. Who will pay? The person carrying on insurance business located in the taxable territory. So those insurance companies have an obligation to pay the tax to the government of India on reverse charge basis, because most of the agents are individuals. So it was not possible for individuals to pay the tax. So it is better in that case that just grab that insurance company. Rather than tracing 1 lakh insurance agents, just catch one company and the company will pay the tax to us. This is what the government says. This is easy also for the insurance company as well as for the agents, and it is good for the government also, that entire revenue can be collected from one insurance company rather than asking that revenue or that tax from different individuals. Similarly, there are recovery agents. When any loan has some problem, if loan cannot be recovered, so the entire loan is sold by a bank to the recovery agents. For example, the bank has to take a loan or has given a loan of 1 crore rupee to any person who is not giving. So what bank will do? They will contact some recovery agents, and they will sell that 1 crore loan for 20 lakh rupees, 30 lakh rupees only. So bank only get 20 lakh or 30 lakh, but remaining, so agents will try to recover. But so many times we have seen that so many people have taken wrong steps also, because these recovery agents go every time at the homes, and the person who has taken a loan feels so many times insulted. So many times these people who have taken the loan were harassed by these recovery agents, and because of that they have taken the wrong step also. But that is another issue. As far as GST is concerned, whenever the recovery agent supplies the services, so to whom the agent will supply the service? To the banks or to the companies which are giving loan. So those companies have an obligation to pay GST on reverse charge basis. Similarly, music composers, photographers, actors, these people when supply their services, then who has to pay the tax? That company which is availing the services of these music composers, photographers, or artists, etc., located in the taxable territory. That's it. For the time being, you only do these services. So I hope you still want to note it down or not. Shall I show you that? Want to note it down, or do you want me to proceed further? Harip, kindly reply.
We would like to note.
Okay, please note. So this is first one. Please note this service. Note second category, and please note it down in a fast manner so that we can proceed. But after this, our 9.3 is almost over, except two services which I will discuss now. Please note it down at a fast pace, and please give me the signal that you have noted down so that I can scroll the screen. Note down this service which is covered under reverse charge. Advocates. When advocates supply the services, then the business entity which is located in the taxable territory has to pay the tax, not that advocate or that firm. Hurry up, hurry up. This is the definition of legal service which you can skip. So don't note down this definition, you can skip it.
Written, sir.
Very good. Next, you note down these three: 10th, 11th, and 12th. Hurry up. Please note down these three. So we'll be having 4 examples of intrastate supply which are covered under reverse charge under 9.3.
Sir, we may start with the discussion.
Okay. So I hope everyone has noted down these also: insurance agent, recovery agent, and composer, etc. Now, two services are additional. As far as goods are concerned, we have common list of goods which are covered under reverse charge under section 9(3), whether it is intrastate supply and interstate supply. But as far as services are concerned, these services are common. These 20 services, out of 20, I have asked you to note down 4. These are common for intra and inter, but there are 2 additional services which can only be interstate. These cannot be intrastate. So those 2 are separate. For this, we have separate notification. These 2 are those which you should note it down. Now, these 2 services cannot be supplied intrastate. It is not possible. These can only be supplied interstate. And since these can be supplied interstate only, so we have IGST applicable on such supplies on reverse charge basis. What are these 2 services? Any service supplied by any person who is located in non-taxable territory. Now, can you tell me what is non-taxable territory outside India? That means I'm availing these services from a foreign country. Maybe I'm availing these services from any engineer who is in USA. So I'm in Delhi, recipient, or for example, X Limited is in Delhi, and X Limited is availing the services of any consultant who is in USA. So the supplier is in USA. That is why it is known as non-taxable territory. Who is the recipient now? X Limited. Any person located in the taxable territory other than non-taxable online recipient. This word I will discuss with you later. For the time being, you can skip this other than. You can skip this other than non-taxable online recipient. You can skip it. Only these 3 lines, first 3 lines you should learn. Any person located in the taxable territory. So what is the best example which I am giving you is that John, for example, John is a consultant in United States, engineering consultant. X Limited in Delhi required some consultancy from Mr. John. Now, who is the supplier? Mr. John is supplying consultancy services. Who is the recipient? X Limited, which is in taxable territory. So in this case, it is covered under reverse charge. Why? Because we cannot put the obligation on John to pay GST. So in that case, no one will get the GST. Government will lose the revenue. That is why normally in RCM, those cases are covered where there is a possibility that tax could not be collected, or where there is a possibility that if we apply forward charge in these cases, it would have been administrative issue. Like rather in case of insurance company, rather than tracing 10,000 or 10 lakh agents, trace one company itself. So it is easy in that case. So for the purpose of administration and for the purpose of avoiding tax avoidance, RCM cases are there. Otherwise, government is not happy to bring the things under RCM. It is only in exceptional situation where it is where the tax collection would be more if we apply RCM in these situations. So this is one example, and another example is services supplied by a person located in the non-taxable territory by way of transportation of goods by vessel from a place outside India up to the customs station of clearance in India. Now, goods are imported by ships, for example, and we have Mr. Philip, who is in France, and Mr. Philip has a ship. So Mr. Philip is the owner of a ship. So goods are imported by way of shipping. So that is a service. Mr. Philip is not selling me the ship. Mr. Philip is giving me the benefit, or Mr. Philip is giving me one facility where I can import my goods from another country to India. And Mr. Philip will collect me shipping charges. So this Mr. Philip is in France, but who is the recipient? Importer located in the taxable territory. So in that case, government says that it is importer's obligation to pay the GST and not Mr. Philip's obligation. Now please raise your hand if these 2 points are also clear, and why these can never be intrastate, because it is not happening within India. One supplier is outside India, another person is in India, and by default all supplies which are from outside India are treated as interstate. All supplies which are outside India are treated as by default interstate. Please raise your hand if these two are also clear. Okay, so please note it down, or you can take the photo also because time is up. So I suggest you can note it down later on. Please take the screenshot of this. These two you have to note it down separately. Please take the screenshot and please inform me whether you have taken the screenshot so that I can proceed and wind up the discussion.
Sir, we may proceed.
Okay, so I'm proceeding now, and that's it. So my section 9.3 and 5.3 is over. I have discussed with you some 4 examples of supply of goods which are covered under reverse charge under 9.3. I have discussed with you 4 supplies of services which are covered under reverse charge, and 2 supply of services which are also covered under reverse charge, but these are only for interstate. So my 9.3 and 5.3 is over. In the next class, I will wind up 9.4, 5.4 as well as 9.5 and 5.5. So that's all from my side. Goodbye.